One. We are live. Hello and welcome to the Legends podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy, and with me today is my co-host, Dylan.
Hello.
And we've got a very exciting podcast for you today, and full of all sorts of controversy. Because I'm a very controversial person right now.
Right. Including a song which shall not be named that derailed this podcast twice now.
And caused Brian to not come back.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay, let's get into this. So, our main objective today is to talk about the Billboard.
Oh, man. Yeah, there's one of those happening.
There's two of those happening, right?
You know what? You are correct. There are, in fact, two of them. It's getting out of hand at this point. There are two of them.
They're multiplying.
No. They're multiplying.
Dylan, tell us about the Billboard and what Twin Suns is up to right now.
Yeah, so we're going to put another two billboards outside of Lucasfilm. These ones are going to be a lot closer. I think it's only like a block away than from their office than the previous one, which was a couple blocks. They're going to basically ask for a continuation of the expanded universe. Dear Lucasfilm, we'd like to ask again, please continue Legend's story. Two timelines, the old alongside the new, because more adventures are great for everyone. And then for more information, go to our website. And then the other one, Dear Lucasfilm, we couldn't buy more new Legend stories, so we bought these billboards instead. And the same, subheaders. So yeah, we are, at the time of the recording this podcast, we've raised about $3,035 of the $5,800 we're going to need for this, and we start on the 1st, about 20 days, almost 3 weeks now.
We're doing really well.
Yes. Stations have kind of petered out in the last few days. I don't know when this podcast is going to go up.
Today.
So if you haven't donated, please do.
Okay. Dylan, can you go into some of the perks for donors?
Yeah. So anyone who donates, automatically you'll get a link to a social media badge filter where you can put in your profile picture. Then it gives you a thing that says you're a Billboard donor. You can put that in all your Twitters and MySpaces or whatever the kids use these days.
I think it's AOL chat room.
Ah, yes.
That's my personal favorite.
Ah, yes. Starting every conversation with ASL. $3 or more, you get entered into the book and comic raffle. We have a few different kind of classic books and comics that people, mainly people in Twin Suns, have donated that they're going to raffle off. However, this raffle will only happen if we make 3/4 of our goal, which is $4,350 by October 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. We are currently about 1,300 away from that, so we'd need to do that in about 3 days. But if we do happen, everyone who donates – that does happen, sorry. Everyone who donates 3 or more will get entered in one of those. $10 or more, you get in the Wild Knights Discord chat. We have a Discord server that we pretty much run. It's free and open to the public, but amongst that, we have a Wild Knights role, which gets you access to the Wild Knights voice and text chat, which is where whenever we do a donation event for a hospital or a community center or a school or something like that, and we're deciding what books we want to buy, that's the chat we do it in. So it's Twin Suns members and all of our previous donors come on and let us know what books you think we should buy, and for that, yeah. $15 or more, you get into another wrap. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, that's the raffle. Sorry, I'm looking at the formatting is weird. I saw another image and I'm like, wait, that's not the prize. Anyway, we're a professional podcast here. We do it live.
Obviously.
Except we don't anymore. But anyway, $15 more gets you into a raffle, which we are in fact doing. We have 9 prizes, 3 Shannon McRandall prints that she has signed herself, 3 Black Series, 3.7, 3 3/4 inch Imperial Guards, which have the get up from the Crimson Empire comics that you can customize them with, and then Dirge, Dark Phase 2 Dark Trooper, and Kyle Katarn, I believe that last one is. Can't see, it's small.
Yeah.
$25 or more, Matt will give you access to unlisted videos of him playing Queen's Gambit, most likely, and probably some other Star Wars board games, but definitely Queen's Gambit. There is a caveat on this that this will only happen if our plans to steal Matt Wilkins' copy of the Queen's Gambit fails. So.
It's a very nice copy of Queen's Gambit. There are photos of it, I do believe, actually up on the internet that I've taken of Queen's Gambit. So we all know that Matt actually has it. Dylan and I have actually played this copy.
Yep. We also had another $25 perk where after the fundraiser is ended, we will message you about having a little blurb written up, and we have a separate website that's going to do this similar to what we did for the first Billboard, so that's there. $50 or more, Matt Wilkins will give you a chance to come on to the live Q&A for about 5 minutes to ask any questions you have. $100 or more, guest star on More Civilized Age, which is a podcast that he does currently with Christopher Nelson from Kirsten Nelson, Matthew Wilson from Geeks Attic, and Ryan Kinnell from RK Outposts. But
Awesome show.
Yeah, it's a great show. They talk about a lot of cool stuff about the EU on there.
But I have a question for you, Dylan. Does Matt get a cut of this money for the Billboard?
Actually, no.
No. Does anyone in Twin Sons get a cut of the money for the Billboard?
Oh man, let me tell you about Twin Sons and us getting a cut for things. So, up until this calendar year, Twin Sons founded in 2016. This calendar year is the first year we are actually projected to be in the black when it comes to our budget. In all previous years, we have gone anywhere from $300 to $500 in the red.
Jesus.
That money, by the way, that we lose is compensated for by Twin Sons staff. We donate ourselves outside of the actual fundraisers because we want our fundraisers. We want as much of the money in our fundraisers to go as possible to the purchasing of books, to the purchasing of Billboard as possible. We have started a little bit adding like maybe $100 to a fundraiser just to cover operating costs, but most of it goes into the actual fundraising stuff. The things like the website fees, the renewals for the donations, the SSL certificates, the various legal fees that we have to pay in order to keep our doors open, both as a business and a nonprofit, the fees we have to pay in order to keep our nonprofit status and the taxes, all of that, it has been compensated by Twin Sons members ourselves. So we don't make any money doing Twin Sons. We lose money operating Twin Sons, and we do it willingly so that we can do things like this, so we can bring books to kids, so we can get billboards out there. We're perfectly happy taking a loss on Twin Sons so we can do this. So no, none of us make any money on this.
Well, you heard it here first, people.
I'm sorry. That's just the thing that irks me.
Oh, no, it irks me too. That's why I wanted to bring it up on this podcast, because we need to address the elephant in the room here. There is a sect of people on YouTube and on various other social media who claim that the Billboard, certain people are taking cuts from the Billboard. And that this Billboard fundraiser is a for-profit venture for Matt Wilkins. And that is simply not the case. So, once again, to these certain individuals, you are wrong.
It's not only that you guys have no idea. all that like $300 to $500 we were losing, that was just to maintain. You don't have any idea how, or maybe you do if you've done this, how hard it is to open up a business, because the way it works is that you have to first found the business like as a business, and then you apply for nonprofit status, and that's how you become a charity. Those two, I want to say Brian spent at least nearly $1,000 out of his own pocket just to get all that set up, just to start us out. So and that was on top of him for the first billboard having to declare the money that we had raised to the billboard as his own income. Even though he didn't even take in that money, he immediately spent it on the billboard, and then the remaining $200 on the books that we donated to the Dobson Ranch Library in Mesa, Arizona. He had to declare that on his taxes. Because he cleared that $4,500, he got put into a higher tax bracket and had to pay about $600 more on his taxes because of the first billboard effort. So again, the fact that any of us are set to make any sort of money on this is ignorant as to what is actually going on.
And Dylan, I don't mean to put words in your mouth here, but wouldn't you say it's despicable and disgusting that people are saying these things?
Yeah.
There you have it, folks. I think you all need to back the fuck off and just support Star Wars. Simple as that.
But I will say that this is going to be the first year that we are looking like we are actually going to break even. And the main thing about this is from you guys who have been supporting us through Amazon Smile. That's been a huge help. That's almost completely offset the cost of almost all of our operating costs. That and the $100 we tacked on to the previous two fundraisers for the book drives. The first one that was at Phoenix Children's Hospital, and the second one, which is going towards the Scottish Rite Children's Hospital in Dallas, as well as the Tenderloin Recreation Center in San Francisco, which both of those donations will be happening later this month. I believe Scottish Rite will happen on the 29th, and Tenderloin happens on Halloween. So look forward to that as well.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Dylan, anything you want to add about the billboard?
It's going to be great. We can only do it if it another thing. We mentioned this on a few times, but there were some things that changed this time around with the billboard. So we went with the same company again because their only competitor to the original company didn't have anything nearly as close as the original company had. They made two changes that were fairly significant. The first one was that they no longer allowed us to purchase a single billboard for a single 4-week period. We could either have one billboard for an 8-month period or two billboards for a 4-month period. Both of those would have came out the same. So we figured we might as well get the second billboard, especially because they are across the street from each other and facing each other. So we could do a lot more wordplay with them working off each other. The other thing that changed was we cannot actually sign on the dotted line for the contract with the billboard until we have the funds. They're requiring us to pay the entirety of it upfront, meaning that we can't lock in a date for when these two billboards will come up. We are tentatively planning for January. We would like to get it done by January, but if another person in between from now and to when we fund decides that they want to put up a billboard in that location in January, we have to do it in February, and if someone does in February, then so on and so on. So the sooner that funds, the sooner we can sign that contract and lock in that slot and exactly when the billboard's going to come up.
Fantastic. We will get this done. We will fund these billboards, and tell Lucasfilm that we want more Legends. But please, help fund this billboard. Because this is how we get back Legends. Not by infighting. Should we discuss this?
Not by. I thought you were going to be. This is how we get back Legends, not by fighting what we hate, but saving what we love.
Oh, no. No, I'm not going to go that bad. No.
I can't believe I've never seen that movie, and I know that.
Because that line it's prequel dialogue right there.
Mm.
That is George Lucas. That's up there with the I don't like sand in my book.
Ah.
Which
But I don't like sand has almost reached like a point of it's good ironically at this point.
I think that the saving what we love will get there in like 20 years. Attack of the Clones is almost 20, which is weird to think about.
2000. Oh man, it's gonna be. Thanks for making me feel old.
You think I'm older than you? Not by much, but
this is completely off topic. But I just need to get this. I just need to vent about this. I was on a Discord chat the other day with this kid who was born in the he was born in 2000, right? Mm-hmm. So like a Gen Zer, a Zoomer, whatever you want to call it, and he was trying to download GIMP, which is like a photo editing software, and he didn't know how to do it. Like, he didn't know how to download something through a browser.
What?
So we were trying to explain this to him, and we were like, just send us screenshots. And, like, he was like, how do I do that?
No.
And I think I found someone, like, more... I think I finally found someone that is more technology... that is worse at technology than Matt Wilkins. Matt, I'm sorry.
That's the one thing we can ding Matt for. Is every time we'll go a little inside baseball with this. I mean, we've talked about this a little bit before, but back when we used to do Google Hangouts, it was such a pain to get Matt on the Hangout because he gets so confused. I'm like.
It's literally like click the link and click the thing there, and then you're in.
So, and there was the whole, why can't we do this through Skype? And it's like, now we do it through Skype, which is not preferred. We're gonna have to find another way of doing this. Actually, Dylan's gonna have to get a new mic.
Man,
actually, I'll tell you what. I'll be honest with you. I like the sound of this mic more than the last one.
Good, because the last one...
the last one was really bad. Not as bad as Brian's last one. Brian takes the cake of having the worst audio on a Legends podcast besides me when I use the built-in microphone on my MacBook Pro and recorded both our audio through that. Do you remember that episode? That was a hideous one. Yeah, no. We aren't doing that again. I actually have new equipment, which is why it's taken so long to release an episode of Legends. And so far, I kind of like the setup we have. We just need to... I don't know, maybe I should actually get on Discord.
Yeah, it's nice.
I had a Discord, but it was back when Discord was, like, garbage. So, yeah.
It still is, but it's like better than Skype at this point.
Yeah, that's what everyone's telling me. Plus, there's certain people who don't have Skype but have Discord. And I'm wondering if does Discord have video chats?
Yeah, Discord is video chat. You have to like actually, you can't do like a video chat in a server, but you can do one. You can do it in like a private call, and you can have like multiple people on a video chat in a private call.
That's we might have to do that next time in our quarterly podcast. So around Christmas, when the next one of these episodes comes out. Or hell, this one will come out during Christmas, and it'll be for nothing. Billboard. No, this one, I'm going to edit this tonight and upload it, because it's a whole process when I have to take it through our podcast sharing site, and then they upload it themselves to the various places that you can listen to this podcast, which would be iTunes and Google Play right now. But we're working on getting this on Spotify. So that's an update on sharing my podcasts. Very fun. God, do we want to talk about this drama? We have a little bit.
Sure. You know more than I do because I didn't bother with that 80-year podcast that they recorded.
Oh, so a group of individuals led by I don't even want to name names. I don't
even know who they're led by at this point.
That's a good question, actually. I don't know either. But a group of individuals made this 3.5-hour podcast that I talked about on the last Can Rants. So if you haven't seen the last Can Rants, then I'm shocked because it's my most viewed video in months. Like, getting all sorts of views over that. Go check it out. I think I did a really good job. I was actually was told I was a lot nicer than I usually am on those. But a certain individual has just commented in the last couple hours with absolute nonsense and saying that I will take the fall for Matt Wilkins. And you know who you are. We will have a discussion, the two of us, we will get to the bottom of this because I don't think anyone's taking the fall for anyone, quite frankly. But there's a whole bunch of hatred because I guess Matt Wilkins can't talk to the Fandom Menace. Anyone associated with the Fandom Menace. That's basically what I've gotten from it.
Yeah.
And also that Matt has to have time to talk to every single one of his viewers. Even though he has 4,000 subscribers. And if he just mildly, doesn't get to your comment, it's okay to harass him until he pays attention to you. There's all these... This is the thing that I was getting at the other night that really pissed me off. Was that it's okay to act up and be rude unless you act up and are rude to these people. And that's not acceptable. I mean, people are talking shit about me because I don't agree with these people, and quite frankly, I don't give a flying fuck, but we all know that. That comes with the territory of doing a can rant with someone. So, yeah. It is what it is. Maybe we'll talk. Maybe we won't. Who knows? I'm up for discussion, though. I will give you the time of day, and you know this, that I will give you time of day to discuss stuff. And if you want to broadcast it on your channel, then by all means, we'll do that. But I digress. What are you reading, Dylan?
I'm reading Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader. The book where it takes 50 pages to get to where Darth Vader shows up.
Dylan, what have you read in the last 3 months?
Oh my gosh. I finished True Colors. It was a Karen Travis book.
It was Karen Travis.
It was good until it wasn't, and then it got good again, and then it wasn't again. Actually, you know something I've noticed with Karen Travis's writing?
What's that?
I don't know what this is called, but she'll write a scene where there's 4 or 5 characters, right? And she'll establish the scene, these 4 or 5 characters that are in the room. And then 2 characters will go off and have a conversation. And they'll have a conversation about something that the other 3 characters don't know about. And you're like, oh shoot, they're talking about this thing in front of these other 3 characters that don't know about this thing. But then you find out, oh no, those characters, they'd walked away or something, they're in another room or something. But she didn't state that. So you think So you're reading it and you think, wait, those 3 guys are still in the room. Why are you talking about this?
It's called bad blocking.
Yeah.
That's the only term.
Happening.
That's the only term I can think of, is to look at it from a filmmaker's perspective. Is you could, even when you're writing something that isn't super visual, you need to block out the scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. What do you read after that?
After that, I read the MedStar duology.
How was that?
Really good, actually. A lot better than I thought it was going to be. I was kind of surprised. And the pseudo Jax Pavin, what is it, like a tetralogy? There's like 5 or 6 of them.
4.
Hexology.
4.
There's
Are you
4 of
talking about Coruscant Nights?
Well, no, because it starts with Shadowhunter, and then the MedStar are also a part of it.
But Jax isn't in Shadowhunter that much. I wouldn't count it.
But his father is, and the droid is. Oh shoot, what's the droid's name? I-5 is in it.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, and it goes through MedStar. Is Jax in MedStar?
He isn't in MedStar. Well, I kind of see where this is going, having only read 3 of them. That MedStar reintroduces the. So Lauren Pavin had E5 was the name?
I-5.
I-5. In Shadowhunter. In the end of Shadowhunter, he sends I-5 away and basically sacrifices himself and was like, go find my son. And then fast forward to MedStar, and I-5 is on this is in the middle of the is on like on this planet with this part of the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, he meets a reporter that is saying, yeah, I can take you to the temple. And that's how that ends. And so I'm assuming the next one in it is going to be I-5 and they're reuniting, and yeah.
Yeah, because Coruscant Nights is what's next. Which I have to warn you, is not that good.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to it, quite honestly. Because after Dark Lord, I have Imperial Commando, which I am excited about just to kind of...
And the Karen Travis
I'm invested in the story. Just some of the characters make stupid decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And then... So anyway, there was Dark Rendezvous was next. And
yeah,
that was
the only Yoda book.
Yeah. It didn't have a lot of Yoda in it.
For something called Yoda Dark Rendezvous?
I mean, he was in it, but, like, we got Yoda, but we didn't get, like, third-person limited Yoda.
Well, I mean, like, there's not a lot that people are allowed to write about Yoda.
Yeah.
The fact that it even got made is remarkable.
Though it did have a have you read Dark Rendezvous?
No, I have not. I just actually got it in hardcover recently.
It has a really subtle thing that happens in it that is both a foreshadowing and a direct reference to something that's going to happen that happens in Revenge of the Sith.
Well, I know what happens in Yoda Dark Rendezvous because it's really referenced in Labyrinth of Evil.
Mm-hmm. Not with that. That is mentioned in Labyrinth of Evil, but there's another thing that happens that, like, when you... it happens, and then when you read Revenge of the Sith, you're like, oh, cool. That was set up. That was... okay.
Good to know. I will read Yoda Dark Rendezvous before I read Revenge of the Sith.
It's really obvious, too, when it happens.
Okay.
It's like, oh, that's going to be what happens in... Okay.
Good to know.
But yeah, Labyrinth of Evil was interesting. Mainly because I'm so familiar with the Clone Wars micro-series, so it was interesting to see how the two were just trying to get those contradictions.
Yeah, there's a lot more of them than I think people realize.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I prefer Labyrinth of Evil over Genji Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, because I just recently watched all of the Siege of Coruscant stuff from Genji Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, which it's fun, and you have some really cool moments with Mace Windu and Yoda, but they're so over the top and very Genji Tartakovsky. It's nice that it's nice the way it plays out in Labyrinth of Evil.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're the reverse of that.
I think I prefer the Clone Wars microseries when it comes to what was happening with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Labyrinth of Evil with what was happening on Coruscant.
Yeah, the Anakin and Obi-Wan stuff is kind of tedious.
It's a waste of time, honestly.
Yeah.
And I also know that's the point, that they're trying to keep them away from, or that's the point of the book, is that they're trying to keep Anakin and Obi-Wan away from Coruscant during the attack, so they're trying to waste their time. Mm-hmm. I get that that's the point, but it's still a waste of time.
What did you think of? Can we get into really heavy spoilers with Labyrinth of Evil here?
Spoilers. We're going to talk about Labyrinth of Evil. Okay, go for it.
What did you think of? At least I interpreted it this way: that Dooku had plans for Anakin to be his apprentice and to overthrow Sidious. It's very subtle at the end, but I thought that was an interesting angle.
Yeah, it was, because I didn't think Dooku was capable of that. Because especially comparing that Dooku to Revenge of the Sith Dooku, where he seemed quite content being the apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
That and I think he knew this as well. He was way too old to be an apprentice.
Yes.
Because if he would have had to, because he was like, what, 89, pushing 90 in universe, he would have had to kill Sidious, take on actually, no, Anakin would have made sense, because he couldn't take on he would have to take on an apprentice that was already a full-fledged trained Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Because then all he would have to do is teach him the dark side.
And someone young.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. Because, I mean, I always thought that Ventress would have been, if Dooku was powerful enough, he and Ventress could have eventually overthrown Sidious, but after all of her failures, he casts her aside in obsession.
Yeah, that's the big problem is Sidious would definitely need whoever the apprentice is to help him overthrow Sorry, not Sidious. Dooku would have needed whoever his apprentice was to help him overthrow Sidious, because he could not do it on his own.
Yeah.
He was way out of his league.
Yes. I mean, the dude was an incredible duelist, which I've always thought, especially after reading Attack of the Clones, if I can just jump real quickly into that, he is one of the best duelists the Jedi have had in 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
But Sidious is far better than him, because Sidious is like the greatest duelist of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's not only that, but Sidious just has like Sidious, I would say, is second to Vitiate in the most powerful dark side force user in galactic history.
Yeah.
And that's only because Vitiate is only ahead of him because he is literally an immortal being that sucked the life forces of the power of hundreds of other Sith Lords in order to get to where he is.
He was just literally the embodiment of a void.
Yeah. And Palpatine is second to that.
Mm-hmm. And I think if the Empire had continued longer and Luke had failed, he would have become that. Or something like that. But I digress. Labyrinth of Evil is awesome.
Yeah.
So then you read Revenge of the Sith after that, I'm assuming?
Mm-hmm.
How'd you like it?
I liked it a lot more than you did. I didn't much care for... I liked the beginning intro with, I like that beginning thing, and I kind of liked the interludes of like this is like Obi-Wan like parts, or this is like Anakin, this is Dooku.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of that first Battle of Coruscant stuff I felt was a little too long.
Oh yeah, everything takes an eternity in Revenge of the Sith.
But as soon as the Battle of Coruscant it's over, it's so much better.
Yeah. I'm trying to... It's been so long since I read Revenge of the Sith. I mean, it's been like 10 years at least since I read that one. So it's not fresh in my mind. I remember liking the final duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan in it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought processes going on. But yeah, I don't remember a whole lot of it, except for there were times when it was just drawn out and tedious, when it was like the space battle.
Yeah, it was interesting reading it, because having already read Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, where they took a lot of the same dialogue, so you could watch it and you're like, or you could read it and you're like, you could almost like, you knew like the lines that were coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Revenge of the Sith I don't think they took like...
No, the dialogue's very different.
And I liked that because they kind of explains more. But I also was like, but Revenge of the Sith is also so meme-worthy. So I was like, man, they didn't say that line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, over time, it just got more and more... I mean, like, in episodes 1 and 2, they do some of that, where they do change the lines up.
Mm-hmm.
In Phantom Menace, I found they did it a little more than Attack of the Clones. Because some of Anakin's dialogue is really clunky in Phantom Menace. It's changed. Because it's changed in the novel because, you don't have to worry about a child actor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more dialogue driven between him and Padme in the book than it is in the film. But yeah, your Attack of the Clones is almost the same. But then you read Order 66.
Yeah.
How is that going from the epic Revenge of the Sith to Karen Traviss talking about Karen Traviss characters?
It was all right. Because again, I don't have a problem with the overall story. I just have a problem with the decisions a lot of the characters have made throughout it.
Is the pacing affected? Because I'm assuming you're coming off of a real big high with Revenge of the Sith, obviously. And then going into something...
I wouldn't say it was a step down.
Okay.
Because I was definitely into it when I was reading it.
Mm-hmm.
But that novel is also infuriating to read.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if I hadn't just read Revenge of the Sith, I've still seen Revenge of the Sith. I still know Order 66 is coming, and the book is called Order 66. So Cal constantly going through like Cal goes the entire book like, don't worry, we're gonna get off Coruscant in like a week. And events keep happening that are getting you closer and closer to Order 66, and you're like, get out now while you can, before it's too late. You idiot, you need to leave now. Who cares if they're not there? You can get them later. Just get out now. Mm-hmm. And kind of spoilers, but not really. I won't say who, but there are definitely people who don't get out because they took too long.
Yep. And that's going to continue into 501st.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is where a lot of people are huge fans of that series, and I can't imagine how irritating it's going to be for me when I get there. Because the last one I read was 000, and I did not like 000 that much. Well, the 000 is just infuriating because there's some really awesome moments in 000. I mean, the climax where they're hunting the terrorists down.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
It was some of the best Mandalorian action ever put in a novel.
All the action, all the stuff with Cal and him like looking out for his clones and like the clone stuff is great. Uh-huh. It's literally anytime Eden shows up and it's all the drama of like Eden, I have a kid and all that. That's when it's like, why?
But the other Jedi, I always found he was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember his name right now.
Now, there is a bit of a contradiction that I found. We talked about this a couple days ago when we talked for the first time since the last podcast.
That wasn't over Messenger, yeah.
Yeah. In that it's heavily insinuated that, well, throughout there's kind of a through line throughout these that Cal and the Nulls have been noticing that there's a lot of money going off in weird places for a lot of ships that they're not seeing, and a lot of clones that aren't coming in from non-Camino sources.
Mm-hmm.
And those clones do show up in Order 66, and it's heavily implied that they are not from Camino. They are not cloned at Camino, and it's heavily implied that the 501st is of those non-Camino bred clones.
Yeah. I don't know.
Which is...
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I think it contradicts a lot of other things. But, yeah, Karen Travis doing Karen Travis things.
I mean, if we're wrong, because I haven't read Imperial Commando and they cleared that up in Imperial Commando, then I guess let us know without spoiling. But let us know that that's not how it happens. Keep reading.
Or if it wasn't cleared up in Imperial Commando, it may have been cleared up in the book that never happened.
Yeah. But at the moment, that's looking like a continuity error.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to Kenobi, which I was told was good,
mm-hmm.
and I didn't know it was going to be that good.
Dude, it's one of the best. It's such a strange way of writing a Star Wars book, too.
Yeah.
It's a Western. I loved it. But we've talked about that numerous times. There's a review on this channel of it, too. Hint, hint, go check it out. But what'd you think of Kenobi?
It was great. I'm looking at my bookshelf right now. I think it's in that Plagueis level of standalone novels that are just above and beyond anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Plagueis, Legacy of the Force, Invincible, the Darth Bane trilogy. I'd put it the Unifying Force. I'd put it in that tier of good Star Wars book. The truly greats.
Would you say it's the best thing John Jackson Miller's ever written?
Easily. That's not even a contest.
Even over KOTOR, the comic.
KOTOR comics? Yes. The KOTOR comics had a lot of comedy, but this had a lot more than just comedy.
Mm-hmm. And also, it's the perfect way... I'm going to be talking... comparing this to... The only other one of his novels I've read was A New Dawn, which is new canon, which is I found was pretty good. This Kenobi's just A tier.
Yeah,
it's just incredible. This is an incredible story. I don't think I had anything negative to say about Kenobi, because it actually ties up a continuity error with the Marvel Comics, which I thought was really cool, with the Mosep Benid character showing up, who was Jabba the Hutt, or should we say Jabba's accountant? Yeah, I like how crazy it gets at the end, but Obi-Wan's still able to help, and yeah. It's good. It's a good story.
Yeah.
And now you're in Dark Lord.
Which is okay. I can see where it's going.
The book that wasn't even supposed to be about Darth Vader.
Yeah, but he's there.
I mean, he's in the title.
He doesn't show up till 50 pages. It's multiple chapters too. It's called Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader, and you're on a planet. You're on a planet in one of the Outer Rim sieges with 3 Jedi and a bunch of a commando team and an ARC trooper, and that's the first 50 pages of this Darth Vader book.
Yeah. Would you say this happens before or after Purge?
So far, I think it's before.
Okay.
Because one thing that happened, they had the whole Outer Rim siege, and they had like Order 66 happened, and like the those Jedi got away and like escaped, and then like it fast forwarded 4 weeks, or sorry, a month, and what happened was the 4 commandos. This is like happens in like the first bit, so not really a spoiler. The 4 commandos basically helped the 3 Jedi get away because they were going to because the clone troopers were going to ambush them, and the commandos set a bunch of charges to basically like EMP like the clone troopers, so they would be stunned long enough that they could tell the Jedi it's a trap, run, and they did. So Vader goes to the planet with the 4 commandos in order to. Palpatine tells him to go to the planet to basically punish the 4 commandos for turning on them. And the reason why I think it happens before Purge is because he asks, "What about the missing Jedi?" And Palpatine kind of hesitates for a bit and is like, "If you find him, you can kill him." Essentially.
Okay.
But that's not like your objective. And then the book is so far just him hunting down those 3 Jedi.
Okay, cool. Is that all you've been reading?
That's 8 books
I know.
in 3 months.
God, we gotta talk about what I've been reading.
Go for it.
So, it's no secret, I've said it numerous times, this is some of the worst Star Wars reading I've done that has happened in the last year. I finished the second Thrawn trilogy. So we'll start with that. Well, actually, do I want to... Yeah, I'll start with Thrawn Treason. I don't want to talk about Alphabet Squadron. I talked about that enough in my review, and I never want to talk about that book again, and I don't think I will read the sequel. It was that bad. But Thrawn Treason was okay. But this whole... calling this the second Thrawn trilogy, or the new canon Thrawn trilogy, I think is mislabeling. Because they don't really feel like a trilogy of books. Whereas Heir of the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command all feel like a trilogy of books. Like, they feel like a sequel trilogy to Star Wars, you know? But this, it's just like... It's just to tie into Rebels. That's what it feels like. That's what all 3 of these books feel like, is... The first one's establishing who Thrawn is. The second one is to establish what happened between seasons 3 and 4 in Rebels. And this book is to establish what Thrawn was doing in the middle of season 4 of Rebels. Nothing really feels right with the book. Like, overall, the overarching thing, it ends with Palpatine's trap for the season finale of Rebels for Ezra. And it just felt tacked on. Anytime like there was references to Rebels, it just felt tacked on, and I didn't care for it. Overall, it was an okay story. It was better than Thrawn Alliances, but I would not recommend it. Seems like Zahn was phoning it in. Next, I read Black Spire, and I have a lot to say about this.
Oh, here we go.
Black Spire is written by Delilah S. Dawson, and it is to market, and I want to stress this, it is to market the Disneyland Galaxy's Edge Black Spire Outpost portion of the Disneyland park. It's obvious by the title. And, you know, Disneyland is for children, correct?
Last I checked, yes.
Yeah, it's for kids. It's for kids to have fun. Why in a book that is marketed towards promoting this outpost do we have graphic torture in which our protagonist gets a hot poker shoved up her tear duct? Or nearly gets her eyelid cut off? It's just one of the most disgusting Star Wars books I've ever read, and like, I don't get why. It's like graphic for the sake of graphic. Like, it added nothing to the story. Except for the First Order is bad. We already know that. You can tell that by Force Awakens when they blew up a whole star system of planets. Like, come on. Otherwise, it's the same characters from the Captain Phasma book, and with the exception of Captain Phasma, of course. It's Vi Marati and Archex, aka Captain Cardinal, and they're just as boring as they've been before, and it's not a good book. But I just don't get why the new canon has to be so graphic. I get that Star Wars had some very dark moments in the EU, but we got, and I noticed this starting with the second Aftermath book, that like the sexual undertones are upped for no real reason other than they need to put something in there. I mean, we had in Aftermath Life Debt, we had interspecies erotica, followed by therapy Ewoks, and then followed by one of the main characters getting his eye ripped out of the socket. I mean, it's disgusting. And it's just been like that ever since. I don't like it. I don't like porno in my Star Wars, and I don't like graphic torture for the sake of torture. Just write a better book.
So Delilah Dawson then is simultaneously Joe Schreiber and Troy Denning?
Yeah. I mean,
But
are you talking about the porno stuff with Troy Denning and the seduction of Ben by a 30-year-old woman?
Yeah. There was also, in Tatooine Ghost, he apparently heavily implied when the twins were conceived.
I mean, I guess, but there's not a whole lot of, like, sexual undertones in Black Spire. But in Chuck Wendig's books, yeah, I would agree. But hey, he's banned.
Well, we've talked about two banned authors on this podcast.
Yeah, we've talked about the two banned authors on this podcast. But I'll move on to some Legends material. How does that sound for a podcast called Star Wars Legends? I finished the Old Republic MMO tie-in novels with Annihilation, and which that also had graphic torture in it. It wasn't as graphic, but I liked it. I think it's my favorite of the Old Republic novels that didn't have Darth Bane in the title. It's the most Star Wars feeling Old Republic novel. I mean, it feels like classic Star Wars. They're destroying a super weapon and stuff, but it has like its own little twists and turns with the main character. I liked all the characters in it too. I like that Satil Shan is actually more of a predominant role, but isn't the main character. It's her son. And he was pretty cool. The Twi'lek that he keeps helping out, she was pretty cool too. They had a comic or something. It was one of those web comics that Dark Horse made into a comic book series. I remember that. That's a precursor to this.
I think, because I don't actually play SWTOR, but I think she's one of the companions you can have in the game.
Oh, really?
I think so.
She's fun. The one negative thing I have is that we're just told what happened to Malgus.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have a novel with the fall of Darth Malgus, because he has so many twists in his character in Deceived, and that's never brought up again. At least in novel form.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Annihilation was pretty good. What were you going to say?
I was gonna say maybe it was in that Old Republic comic cast grab that no one read.
I read one of them. I read the issues 4 through 6, which was put in volume 1, and I hated it back in the day. But I had the other two because I had everything, but I just never read them. I wonder if we'll get to that in a moment. I sound like a certain someone that was in a certain 3.5 hour podcast.
Yeah, you're literally him right now. Literally.
Dude, I just got fucking shit talk for making fun of that on the Can Rant, and I'm like, fuck off. But yeah, let's see here. After Annihilation, I read a Clone Wars novel, which I haven't read a Clone Wars novel in a while. And I read, by mistake, Star Wars The Clone Wars Gambit Stealth, and I just finished it. And it kind of sucks, but it's kind of awesome at the same time. I don't know. I'm reading Siege right now, and I'm not liking Siege at all. I'm very bored with it.
Yeah.
In the Gambit duology, Obi-Wan and Anakin are secret agents on a planet to stop Admiral Locke Durd, who's making a bioweapon. And that's pretty much it. I don't get why it had to be Anakin and Obi-Wan. Dylan and I talked about this yesterday, but it's like, I don't understand why them when it's such a mess of a timeline in this era of Star Wars. Why did it have to be Obi-Wan and Anakin?
You know, I'm looking at my bookshelf, and I'm looking at the Clone Wars era, and I wonder if the reason the Republic Commando is so loved is because the rest of the Clone Wars era is so terrible.
Are you just talking novels?
Novels, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like the Clone Wars stuff, the TCW stuff, so like the two duologies, which are only in like trade paperback.
Oh,
Shatterpoint,
no, my dude.
Likes.
Have I told you about the Sentry printings of those?
Do they have them in normal mass market paperback size?
They have them in hardcover.
Hardcover, yeah. I don't do hardcovers.
I know you don't do hardcover. Oh yeah, they're that weird oversized paperback that now is common with the new canon. Yeah, that was how I forgot they were released that way. That's something I should talk about.
There's such an eyesore on my bookshelf because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's those. It's Shatterpoint, which like no one likes. Cess Deception and Jedi Trial, which no one talks about ever. Medstar, which is okay. Rendezvous, which is okay. But then those are... And Labyrinth of Evil. But that's more of a tie-in novel with Revenge of the Sith than it is like a Clone Wars novel.
Yeah, because back in the day, I think Clone Wars was dominated by Dark Horse.
Mm-hmm.
And all the Dark Horse stuff is like solid. Well, almost all of it's solid. Because they made so much of it. Once again, it got oversaturated. But I mean, back when it was the multimedia project before Revenge of the Sith, the comics dominated.
Back in the good old days.
Back in the good old days, which they're reprinting a lot of it. I'm very happy with this. Let's see.
They're getting reprinted in Republic. The Republic, right? Volumes, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're reprinting other things too, like Darth Maul Son of Dathomir got reprinted. Not Son of Dathomir. Well, yeah, that got reprinted separately, but it doesn't even have a Legends banner on it because it's considered new canon as well. It has that weird distinction of it's considered by the story group to be both canon.
The Epic Collections they do them in chronological order, right? That's why they jump from series?
Yes, so they do it by era, and then they do chronological order from the starting point in the era. So they have... Their main three they started with was Rise of the Sith, which is pre-Phantom Menace stuff. The Old Republic, which starts with Knights of the Old Republic.
for some reason.
For some reason, I guess when they do, and I think it's a when at this point, when they release Tales of the Jedi, they want it to be called Tales of the Jedi.
What if they're going to do they're going to start with Dawn of the Jedi, and that's when they're going to...
Well, they would just call that Dawn of the Jedi.
No, because Dawn of the Jedi is only 18 issues.
It would fit one epic... It would fit one epic collection. They would just do a small one. Probably.
No, they would start with Dawn of the Jedi, and then go from Dawn of the Jedi to Tales of the Jedi.
Maybe.
In order to... Again, because it would be a part of one series... Almost to kind of like sell more Dawn of the Jedi, because people would need it to have the Tales of the Jedi like collection done. They'd put like the first maybe the first few issues of like the Hyperspace War and like the last one of the...
They would put they're good about not splitting up miniseries.
Okay.
So they would put all of Golden Age of the Sith in there. They might, honestly, they probably put Golden Age of the Sith and Fall of the Sith Empire in there, because those are so...
Short?
They're short, but they're also, like, not very important to the main Tales of the Jedi story.
So they'll partner those up with the Dawn of the Jedi book, and then
they'll just do Tales of the Jedi for the rest, like a Volume 2.
Volume 2. Do you think, could they fit the rest of that in Volume 2?
Maybe.
With Redemption?
They might. I don't know. Because I have 2 of the volumes. I've bought 2 of the Marvel Epic collections recently. I have Rise of the Sith. Let me pull that down here real quick. Give me a minute.
Riveting conversation. This is all getting edited out. I can say whatever I want right now. Red Harvest is a good book. Snape kills Dumbledore.
I'm here. What are you talking about?
Nothing.
Okay. So, Rise of the Sith has Jedi the Dark Side, all 5 issues of that. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan on the Orient Express, which was 2 issues. Qui-Gon and Orion and Obi-Wan Last Stand on Ord Mantell, issues 1 through 3. Jedi Council Acts of War, which is issues 1 through 4, and then material from Star Wars Tales, issues 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 10, 13, 14, and 24. And also material from Star Wars is issues 4 through 6, which is Vow of Justice, which talks about the backstory of Keonda Moody.
You're the comic guy. Mm-hmm. What comic was when the Jedi came in and destroyed Jango's army of Mandalorians?
Jango Fett Open Seasons, issue 3.
That was Open Seasons, okay.
Yeah, and specifically it's Count Dooku.
It was Count Dooku? Okay.
Yes, that's how he knew about Jango.
Because it was mentioned a lot in the last 2 Republic Commando books, and I was wondering, before I got to... I was figuring that as soon as I finished Dark Lord, I should read whatever comic... whatever arc that is.
Yeah, it's Open Seasons. Highly recommend it. It's one of the best miniseries from Dark Horse. But, the Empire comics, which it starts with I think it starts with Purge, and then it goes through all of Dark Times. I mean, right now they're on, it's the longest running of the volumes of these Marvel Epic collections. They're on the Droids Dark Horse stuff. They just printed all of the droid stuff, which I think is weird. But they're just printing everything. The Rebellion, they printed all of that awful Brian Wood series, all 20 issues of that. And they've been printing the Empire comics, the New Republic volumes, which I'm most interested in right now for collecting, because I want to read some of that again. It actually starts with Mara Jade by the Emperor's Hand, and also collects Shadows of the Empire Evolutions. And then Volume 2 and 3 are all of X-Wing Rogue Squadron, the comic series. And I think the last volume, I think it was Volume 4 or 5, reprinted when they adapted Timothy Zahn's Thrawn trilogy to comic form.
When does that also have Jedi Academy Leviathan? Because
that has not been printed yet. I think that will be in the next one when they do that. And they'll probably do that in Dark Empire.
That Dark Empire and I guess
Crimson Empire would be
Crimson Empire and Union. That's all that's left, I guess.
I think they'll go through New Jedi Order with it, because that way you get Chewbacca and then all of Invasion, and then that would bring it up because they're doing Legacy right now, and that would tie the Dark Horse stuff to Legacy.
So would they do Union with New Jedi Order or with the last New Republic?
Wherever it fits. Is what it seems like, because they're also throwing every Tales story in chronological order, which is really it's really jarring with the. I started reading Rise of the Sith Volume 1, and it's just really terrible Mace Windu Tales stories in the beginning. They're tedious sometimes, but it's nice to have everything in chronological order.
It's all the canon ones, right?
Yeah, as far as I can tell. I mean, some of those tales are iffy, but it's what they're considering canon. It's like they watched Matt's videos, and someone at Dark Horse who's in control of these epic collections, because it's not like they just do these with Star Wars. They do them with all of the Marvel heroes have epic collections. It's the new way they print things so that they're affordable in paperback. Because they still do those gigantic omnibuses that are in hardcover, like they did with the original Marvel series. Mm-hmm. But now they're printing those in the Epic Collection size. They're printing the newspaper strips in the Epic Collection size. It's a pretty cool format. The only one I've seen up for pre-order right now is they're doing a Clone Wars Volume 3, but the listing on Amazon has the issues from Menace. It's not Menace Revealed. I think it's Menace Revealed. The Dark Horse Omnibus they've made into 2 epic collections, but they've also took the stuff from Emissaries and Assassins, or it could be reversed. Because the Dark Horse, the problem with just reprinting the Dark Horse omnibuses is they don't have everything. Like things like Jedi the Dark Side, which is the Qui-Gon Jinn 5-issue series that got canceled. That was sorry, I just got a text from my mother. That's him and Xanatos, and it's some of the last Jedi Star Wars stuff, which I think that series is actually pretty decent. It's nice. It's a good lead up to Jedi Apprentice, because Xanatos is actually like a villain throughout that series. Which he's actually referenced in Darth Plagueis too.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, because Dooku talks about his failures. He's not happy with the Order. But, that's pretty much it. I mean, currently I'm reading Darth Maul Shadowhunter. I'm about halfway through that. I started Outbound Flight. I'm on Siege right now. I also finished Attack of the Clones. It was okay. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Do we want to do questions?
Might as well.
Yeah, okay. So, let me pull that up here. And then...
I've got my Dark Horse app out, looking for Jango Fett open seasons.
It's in... If you're going through the Dark Horse... Do you have the Dark Horse omnibuses? Like, is that how you bought them?
I have the Mega Collection, so whatever they put it under.
It's either going to be under Jango Fett Open Seasons, or it's in Emissaries and Assassins. I'm almost certain of that. It's really good. It wouldn't be at the beginning, though. It's like in the middle of that omnibus. But I love that series a lot. But you know that.
Rebellion, Quinlan Voss, Purge, Marjade, Lost Tribe, Legacy, Knights, Air Knight, Aaron, Jedi Academy, Jedi. Wouldn't be a Jedi, would it? No. Anyway, questions.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay. Wouldn't be Infinities, Empires, Droids, Dawn of the Jedi, Darth Vader, Darth Maul, Dark Times maybe? No. Dark Empire, Crimson Empire, Clone Wars Adventure, Clone Wars Chewbacca, Boba Fett, and Bounty Hunters. Oh, there it is. Jango Fett Open Seasons.
Yeah.
4 volumes. I guess I'll just read them all.
4 volumes. It's 4 issues.
4 issues, yeah.
All right.
Downloading. I'll read them after the podcast.
So, questions. And thank you, Jedi Acolyte 26, for putting hashtag questions on there. It made it a lot easier to bring these up. And if you have any questions, just comment on our YouTube comment section and throw some questions at us. He's given us 2. And the first question is, given your thoughts on the Clone Wars, do you feel that they should have used the series as a way of bringing certain characters / groups into the more public Star Wars limelight instead of what we got from Filoni, and if it followed the EU without stepping on it? For example, Koda's Militia, Siritachi, he just names off some examples.
Yeah, the problem with that would just be, again, the people running the Clone War, the people at the head of the Clone Wars, I don't think would have introduced those characters, but they wouldn't have done it in a way that's consistent with what we know about those characters. Not only like their characterization, but like contradictions for what they were doing when. For example, like they could put Quinlan Voss in a story where like he's fighting in like an Outer Rim siege or something, when like timeline wise he's supposed to be like an agent of Count Dooku, for example.
Yeah. I don't know.
That would be my concern with them having done that.
It's
bad example because they did ruin Quinlan Voss.
They did. The only good example of what you're saying, like it did happen, is which one of Karen? It's Wild Space that we have. Callistia shows up, right? Or is it No Prisoners?
No Prisoners.
No Prisoners. Callistia shows up, and that explains the Callistia trilogy, kind of. And
Hellion shows up in No Prisoners as well.
Yeah. But that's not the series in general. That's a spin-off of the series, so that's a little different. Yeah, I don't know. I just wish that series was handled better.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like with Stealth and Siege. We didn't need to have Anakin and Obi-Wan in it constantly. But yeah, I digress. Move on to the second question.
Okay.
Question 2, do you think New Jedi Order was fine the way it was, including the Invasion comics, or do you feel that it should have been an ongoing comic series with a few novel tie-ins?
I think the problem with the Invasion comics is they came out too late. Mm-hmm. They came out after it was already over, so they introduced characters and subplots that weren't referenced within the entire rest of the series, especially considering that the Invasion comics happened so early on in New Jedi Order, and just to have these big characters and these huge events just not referenced in any other New Jedi Order novel that happened after that is kind of jarring when you're going through it.
I'll second that. New Jedi Order was pretty much perfect the way it is, in my opinion. There's one book that I'd like to see. It was the book that who wrote it, that that's referenced but never actually came out. I'd like to see that. But other than that, I don't think it needed to be more visual. It's what we got visually is okay. I think that the fan art does the series justice enough.
And like one example of one that did it well was Boba Fett: A Practical Man, which, yes, it took place. Yes, it was written in like 2006, would have been about 3-4 years after New Jedi Order ended, but it at least in that case it wasn't adding things; it was fixing things, because in the unifying force, they noticed that there were Mandalorians that had been quiet for most of the war, that were also fighting the Yuuzhan Vong. And they kind of didn't really go into an explanation about that. And then Boba Fett comes in and has this story, or the Practical Man comes in and has a story explaining what that was. So because there's that tie-in with because it explains something that wasn't explained in the original New Jedi Order, that was fine coming afterwards to do it. I wish that Invasion had done that, or it had anchors in the rest of the New Jedi Order that it could have built off of, so there wasn't that disconnect of reading. I'm reading New Jedi Order, and now I'm reading this thing that feels completely different from New Jedi Order. Anyway.
I'm sorry, I just got... For those of you who don't know, in the comment section on my can rant, I have finally riled up some of the people that were either in the podcast we've been joking about, or were in the comment section, because I was commenting on all sorts of things, because it was some of the most baffling things I've actually seen on YouTube in years. Just the behavior of people. I mean, a certain someone doesn't like when someone laughs off someone getting bullied or something, or at least they claim that. But it's okay for him to call a woman an incel when he doesn't agree with what she says. That was literally and then when I came and agreed with her, I didn't defend her, I agreed with her statement, I was shit on for agreeing with a quote-unquote incel. How embarrassing. Do you want me to read some of these comments to you?
No.
I full-on can't. It's just... If not, I'm probably going to do a video on these comments, because it is embarrassing what these people are saying. Embarrassing to them. I think it's pretty funny, but... Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Here we go. Anything else you want to add?
No. Were that the two questions we had?
That was it, dude. Very nice. Simple, to the point. That's all, folks. All right. We'll see you next time on our quarterly podcast.
Quarter.